Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Breakfast At. We are here at Josiah's Coffee House and Cafe, and I am here with an amazing guest, somebody I've had the opportunity to get to know over some time. Her name is Haley Hoffer, and Haley, before we get into your story, tell me if you could pick one meal that reminded you of home, what would that be?
That meal would be something my grandma would always make for me, and it's schnitzel and potatoes. So breaded pork, which I do not eat anymore. Yeah.
Schnitzel and pork. I have always thought of schnitzel. Please, while we... No, yes. Please bring it in. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
As we enjoy an amazing flatbread. Schnitzel and pork. Now, I have always been under the impression that schnitzel was... How is it normally served? Please inform me, because I have this idea of what I think it is, and I'm almost certain I'm off.
So it's breaded pork, and it's just like the tender, like thin piece that's flattened out, and then It's literally just breaded and fried. Some seasonings.
Seems simple.
Yeah, most people put like gravy on it.
Oh.
It's delightful.
What is it about home?
And last night.
You did? No way. See, look at that.
Here we are.
It's wild.
That is cool. All right. So, what is it about schnitzel and pork that means so much about it? What was it, heritage-wise? What is that backing for you, and why does it resonate so much?
So my grandma, even though my mom and her did not have the best of relationships, my grandma was actually like one of my saviors growing up. She was my safe space. She's made a lot of changes and changed her life around, and she's one of the very few people I've kept in contact with.
Yeah.
So that food specifically has this nostalgic effect on me,
It's there. The memories that are attached to it are almost unshakable.
Yeah, even though I don't eat it anymore,
Yeah.
It's still like a deep part of my heart. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I see schnitzel. It's learning about different foods and different cultures and those things that bring you back to. For me, home is always that smell of like eggs, olive oil. That'll never leave. Smell of like fried tomatoes. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's okay. All right. So we're gonna get started. The hats you have worn, I think, are awesome to bring light and shed on. Being a veteran, an athlete, a coach, a mom, and a tarot reader, how have these experiences shaped the person you are today?
I think there's a lot more than hats that I've worn than you've mentioned, which I feel is fascinating because there's so many, and they were all stepping stones that have gotten me to this point where I'm at now, where I'm fully engulfed into my art more than I am in trying to pursue whatever I thought success was that was constructed by the society around me, and I felt like, I need to have money, I need to have the house, I bought my house when I was 25, like all these different things that I felt I was chasing that weren't genuine to who I was, but they all played a very special part in constructing who I am now. So, there's just so many moving pieces, and I feel strongly that a lot of times we tend to identify with the roles that we play, and I, this past year, really dug deep into removing those identities and getting down to the truth of who I am and what my purpose is, and that is why I feel like I don't regret anything, and I'm grateful for all the roles I have played, but my shift now is drastically different than it's ever been, Yeah. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah. And I guess diving in, because, the things that we come from are, and it's true, right? The things that we come from, the things that we experience, if we are receptive to it, they are the tools that help us get further on into who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And, the artistry, the military experiences that you and I had shared, I mean, it's this world that we have and these things that we go to, what would you say was the biggest impact that set the tone for that trajectory, where you were like, you know what, I need to do this?
I feel it was like phases. It happened at a different couple major turning points in my life. The most recent one, I would say, I had a near-death experience where I had like 3 surgeries back to back. I had internal bleeding. Yeah, and then followed up with, I went on an ayahuasca journey a week after my stepmom passed, and she was like my world. She was pretty much my mom, you know. And so that whole, it was like, you know, things come in threes, so they say,
yes,
and it was just like a storm, and I felt that I needed to go back to the core of what really excited me as a child that I ended up pushing aside for XYZ reasons, mainly tied to my biological mother, why I resisted that path for so long, you know? So that was the whole cycle.
I don't imagine it's easy to share, and I appreciate you for sharing. I know those, you know, these little things that help gain. We were just talking about it. It's crazy that growth doesn't ever seem to come without adversity.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And unless we're willing to accept that, it's very hard to see how the adversity is the teacher. And, you know, how the practices that we go through and try to shape for ourselves are somewhat of the things that we find, if we are willing to take in. I would like to unpack some of this because I think it transitions. It's a great segue to this next question. I would like to unpack this idea that we are paid to exist.
Yeah, I literally wrote that in my journal this morning.
What?
This morning, I literally wrote, "I am paid to exist."
I want really to understand what that means, because you would express that at times, and I think that for me, that not understanding, and I feel like I understand in a way.
But a lot of people don't live by it,
yes, and so,
or know how.
Please unpack that for me. I want to dive in. I want to explore this.
Yes, okay, because I was just talking to your friend here about how literally I've been traveling nonstop. I went to Puerto Rico, I went to New York City, I just got back from Hawaii, I go to Sedona in 2 weeks, and then I go to Michigan, and then I go to California. So it's like, and best part is, all these trips don't affect me financially. I am literally paid to do these things. Why? Because that is literally what I am creating. I am worthy, feeling the worthiness, feeling that I deserve it. And then out of nowhere, it's like magic, you know, big chunks of money coming in out of nowhere that I never expected.
Yeah.
These trips being paid for and given to me out of nowhere. And it all comes down to that energy and the feeling that we have internally of like, do you actually believe you are paid to exist? If you don't, where does that sit in your body? What is the rejection you are having? Where does that stem from? Because that is your blockage. And once you are able to fully embrace that and know that your purpose here is important, just like anybody else, right? You are here to create in whatever way that looks to you. And when you finally start embracing that, it's like literal magic. And I have been experiencing that this past year of how beautiful and magical it can truly be. Because I 100% believe that we are paid to exist, but we have to believe it wholeheartedly.
It has to come from the inside.
Like truly, like deep, like...
Now, notice, and so when you say that, expressing the understanding that when we say you have to feel it inside, meaning that there is a undoubted expression, there is no doubt behind the feeling that you are having that you are where you're supposed to be.
Yes. Even in the most unfortunate of situations where you feel like maybe you are in the hole, or you know what I mean? Like that darkness, like the lotus flower, right? It's what we were just talking about. You grow from the darkness. That adversity is what allows you to see the light.
Yes.
You know? Oof, that gets me like excited.
How do we show that, and how do we teach that? What are the things that can be introduced or expressed for people to recognize and see that? Because I feel like there's a part right now where I'm coming to recognize how, not intrinsic or intuitive, we'll dive into the intuitive perspective, but like after being hit so many times by life, you get to the point where you're just like, you know what, I'm going to be here, and this is where I'm going to thrive regardless and unabashedly, because this is what I want. But it's almost like we're constantly hit with scrutiny by that, because people are like, well, but that's not how you're supposed to be doing it. And we had said that, right? So like, what are some things that people can learn, or some perspectives people can utilize to change and step themselves out of not being worthy of that kind of idea or that way of life?
So an important tool for me that really helped me last year step into this belief system and practice in my daily life was honestly breath work. And there's so many different types of breath work that we can do, right? But not just breath work. It has to be intentional. And there's two separate parts. One is identifying that you are loved in like this first, you have to do it like working out, you know, it's a muscle. It's the same type of thing. If you want to build something, especially like with our body, you have to tear apart that muscle. You have to break it open and allow that growth to happen. And it is painful and it hurts. But that is a part of the process, is embracing the unknown and that pain that comes with it, because it is absolutely terrifying, because you are putting aside everything, those expectations and everything that society has told you this is how you do it, when it is backwards, right? So the first part is with the intentional breath work, that I am loved, and feeling that you are loved in all areas, in all ways. And then the second part of that is worthiness. Literally, I journaled every single day after doing breath work. In the morning, right away, 20 minutes of breath work and journal immediately. I am worthy of XYZ. For 10 minutes, I am worthy. And you don't just write it. You have to believe it. You
feel it.
You got to be a little delusional. You know what I mean? That is like the whole, that is the key ingredient here, is a little bit delusional.
The delusion being that you are willing to convince yourself out of the framework that was already created, that was stifling your growth.
Reprogramming.
So that's in the sense to say, you get the use of delusion can be constructive if it is in the best efforts of trying to find who you are, and especially if it's trying to be right. Well, because it's, and I say I want to throw that out there because it's a lot of the concept. People use the term delusional, and most of the time you hear it as a negative
connotation.
Right. You know, you're delusional. What do you know? You know, you're in your own space. You're in your own world that doesn't exist. It's not real. You're delusional. And it's like, okay, that's fair. But if most of my life was lived in a confined environment that did not help me thrive and find who I wanted to be, then I better be delusional enough to search and pursue who it is that I am, so that I can figure out and then step out of it and be like, no, am I right? Because it doesn't feel like this is where I want to be. And so maybe I'm delusional in believing that I can't achieve it. Just as much as one needs to be delusional in, hey, I'm going to try my hardest and I'm going to push it until I figure it out. Be damned if it is a little delusional. You know, okay. No, I see. That's...
Like, it's an unorthodox approach.
No, but, you know...
However, it's been working for me and I've been proving it, you know?
I love this perspective that we go to movies and we know that we suspend belief to watch movies in real time. Why can't we do that to our own life and suspend the belief of these little, these pockets of what we think we understand, hold them at bay, create a little bit of a narrative through the experiences of what we know we want, and pursue it to the effort to where we get it. And then breath work. Breath work. What does that breath work practice look like?
For me, oh my gosh, it was balancing my masculine and feminine energies, and to more simply, it's balancing the left and right side of my body of giving and receiving, because I struggle, like many people, receiving, right? Because for so long we are like, it's just a whole construct, right? So balancing that through the Vishnu Mudra and allowing like you breathe in and breathe out through opposite nostrils, right?
Okay.
And you just really focus on the air quality around you, how it makes you feel, where in your body, like you're just becoming very aware of your internal state, the thoughts that are coming by, like the mindfulness activity of imagining a river and then all those thoughts just floating on leaves, you know, and letting things go. And then it really helped too with the journaling process, because then you reflect and then you integrate. So it's just like the whole cycle.
Integrating being that because you're writing it down, it's becoming more and more a part of your this is something that I can reflect on every single moment, more than the negative stuff.
Yeah, you're just replacing those cycles, the negative with the positive. And however, though, there is a lot of stigma because of toxic positivity, and that is not the same thing. You know, like you need to be a realist in the situation, but also it is changing that dynamic energy system within and allowing yourself to be open to new perspective and just new belief systems, you know?
Yes. We're going to dive further into it because I think that when it comes to feeling worthy of self is a conflict many people struggle with. I'm one of them, right? It's a thing. Can you describe the moment you were ready to take the reins and embrace your own self-worth?
That happened when I decided to cut my dad off out of my life. It took a while for him to reach back out, and he still hasn't officially apologized, even though in his way he has, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Best effort he could.
It's steps with what he knows. And that's all I can ask for, is that he's on his own journey, and me having the compassion to recognize that we are all on our own journeys, and it takes divine timing and that understanding to be able to work through those things. But when I finally took the stand for myself and said that I deserve better, not just with relationships, with friendships, but with my own family relationships around me, which in turn changed my whole entire world, and it's just been so magical since, you know. And even then, he has come back around after that period of dismay, so it felt. But I mean, my mother's a whole nother story. I don't know what's going on with that, but I also put a block on that. And there's so many things that we tend to do in the littlest of ways that really reflect what we feel our worth is. You know, it could be something as simple as someone coming by and saying, "Do you want more coffee?" And you don't want to be a burden, and you're like, "No, it's okay. You know, I see that you're busy. Keep going." Or something so little, but like, no, I freaking deserve more coffee. Like, yeah, give me some more. You know, it's the little people-pleasing aspects that we don't recognize as actually truly manipulation, because we are trying to please someone else. We are trying to help them, but really, that is us saying, "Okay, you don't know what you need, so I'm going to tell you what you need for you." That's how I view that situation. And so it's really taking our power back and being like, okay, if I am the creator in my own world, if I am putting out this main character energy, I need to truly believe in it and act in it, you know? Yeah, so that was kind of the whole terrifying shift I talked about earlier, where it's uncomfortable because it's not something that we're used to do. We're not used to being like, hey, I would like this warmed up, it's too cold. You know, like something crazy like that. It's not crazy.
No, but the idea that asking seems to be, if a person's coming around with a cup of coffee or a glass or a pitcher of coffee and I'm almost done, and they're asking, "Hey, do you need a refill?" If there's an ask, why should I not feel worthy of accepting that cup of coffee?
Right.
And
receiving. that whole,
Receiving.
yeah,
Mm.
struggling with receiving. So when I was finally able to receive and recognize people that were offering me the smallest of gifts, whether that be through their words or compliments, whatever that looked like, I was able to sit with it and be like, okay, I am deserving of this compliment. Like, I am beautiful. I am wise. All these things that I tell myself and journal to myself, and other people are reflecting that back to me. Why, for so long, did I deny that to myself? You know? And so it kind of gets you into this mode of like, okay, I need to pause, reflect, and really integrate what's going on. And just, yeah.
That's powerful. Because it is. Weird how we don't see that those little subtle, no, I'm okay, thank you. Or, it's, you said it, it's, I'm putting it in my journal and it's being reflected to me
Yeah.
by the world saying you're worthy, and I'm still stopping it from being fulfilled.
Yeah.
I'm stopping the fulfillment, which stops the, what would you call the exponential potential that can come from the growth of it, letting it sit, the cultivation of it. And it is strange. Why is it that we feel so unwilling or unworthy of accepting those things? What is it about that? Why do we have this like weird apprehension, especially when it is being presented to us in that way?
Right.
Like, if it is being presented, why am I saying no if I know that that's what I want?
That's where the delusional part comes in. You know, you have to be like, okay, step back. I do believe this.
Yeah.
Obviously, I write about it.
Yeah.
I do. I say it to myself sometimes.
Right.
I do believe other people are reflecting that back to me. So there's proof in the pudding.
Yeah.
You know, like
Something's
it's there.
trying to tell me that it's
Yeah.
it's real. Love that. Love that. So, how have you seen your artistry develop? What influences from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and Grand Rapids have provided some of that?
Okay. How my art has developed. For the longest time, I created from a space of pain and wanting to share that pain and connect with people on an emotional level. As I have grown academically, I have learned a lot about the history of art and where a lot of my influences have come without even knowing it. It's like connecting to the universe in such a way that like I was connecting to these specific artists that I had no idea existed.
Oh, wow.
Or that their art existed.
Yeah.
Until I'm like, okay, this kind of looks like this. This is kind of looking, this method is kind of looking like this.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And so then I go back to like, okay, why did these people do that?
Yeah.
Where were they coming from? What were
Right.
they creating from? And it helped me understand this bigger connection that I was trying to really identify with, but also project. And something that I was really hesitant for so long was identifying with feminism, particularly second wave feminism, because I never saw myself as a feminist. I have always been, everyone is equal, male, female, like we all embody both energies.
Right.
So I'm very hesitant on that identification. However, though, I do see the light in it, and those experiences that I've had from both here in Sioux Falls and back home in Michigan have been like similar experiences in a way. Like the emotion has been perpetuated, and these things have been more clear to me over time. Embodiment, I would say, is a big one, and connecting with land, and not just land, but we are a part of the land. So it's like full on connection with how we interact with the land and how the land inspires us or energetically even guides us in such ways. Like you coming from Brookings and you loving it there, the peace, the serenity, the chickens, it's like, and then coming here, environments affect us in such a dramatic way. And if we don't pull ourselves away from that environment to recognize where other environments may impact us differently, we never learn those things about ourselves. You know, it's a different way of seeing who we are, and art takes so many forms. You know, there's writing, there's dancing, there's music, there's so many ways of creating that I feel people have limited themselves anytime they hear the word art. And so I feel from my experiences from back home, and especially here, here is a big one where like you hear the word art and it's like, oh, you must be a painter.
Yeah.
Oh, you must be a photographer.
Yeah.
Like,
it's very limited.
No.
Yeah. It's very limited.
So like, yeah, it is. And so by expanding, like, because I'm going to school in California for my master's, and that was a huge shift because...
Congratulations, by the way. That's amazing.
Thank you. Like, my whole cohort of visual arts individuals that I work with, they are from all over the world. There's someone from Vietnam, New Mexico, New York City, which I just met for coffee. Like, they are all over, you know? And so it's like coming together with all these different experiences and stories has been just eye-opening in so many ways. And then for me, embracing traveling with my son and being able to give him that experience, I've been able to create from a completely different space, but it's like it's all had impact, you know? It's all been a learning experience. So
it is amazing that coming from big cities, I found love in small town country. But I also recognize in the same vein that there are people that I've met who've come from small town that want big city life because that is an experience that they've ever, and that interesting connection where, you know, I find it awesome and peaceful because of where I came from, and recognizing that I've always been an outdoors person.
Yeah.
And so being in the middle of nowhere and wherever is it has been that thing. It's like where I need to be and what I enjoy. So it's wild to think that, like, it doesn't take time, but it just takes the effort to pursue it. It just takes the effort to go in. And your story in that is remarkable. Because, I mean, at least being able to come from the outside, having met you as an artist and watch some of that development and seeing, you know, but, I mean, to see some of the style that you started with and then you see now where you're going, I mean, my God, there has been a great evolution. And I am fascinated by it because it's like, you get to watch how these different interactions of this person's growth has like affected those things, and you're just it's hard not to be in awe when you're in a state of reception, because why can't I be receptive to somebody's growth as well? To somebody's...
It's inspiring.
Yeah,
you know?
It is. Yes, it is. Yeah, no, that's hands down. I want to even argue, no, and I want to put this because this was the thought that I had. Art, would we say that art is a limiting term in regards to what we know as the expression of the internal human self? So instead of saying art, where art feels like it puts it in a box, you know, we're here as expressive humans using mediums that best convey the things at which we're trying to share.
Yeah.
And that's maybe the great pursuit is, as a human, I'm seeking things that allow me to convey the story of myself in the best possible form, and over time we find our ways of refining it, honing it, and find maybe the thing that best describes it. Do you think that you'll find a medium or a way of expressing that, like, is the epitome of what you are trying to reach?
You know, I love that you asked that, because that's been a question I've been thinking about a lot lately.
See it on the face. I can see it on the face, and I want to know.
Oh my gosh, because with this master's program, it's visual art, so we are highly encouraged to experiment right now. And throughout my whole undergrad for my BFA in sculpture, I was very much a narrow path of, like, I have to sculpt. I used resin and plaster. Like, that was my main medium that I worked with. And the resin and the plaster, it went deeper than what I had anticipated. It was more of earth, right? Like water and earth.
Yep.
And I did not recognize that during that whole time that I was trying to connect on a deeper level.
Yeah.
And now I mean, the last few months since starting this program, I have done photography. I've done dyeing fabric with natural materials. Like when I was in Hawaii, I used flowers and onions and dyed fabric. Like I have been truly experimenting with all different types of mediums to be able to express the feelings that I'm having, because for a long time, and this is a big key point here, is I feared failure. I feared being called a failure. And now it's like, no, it doesn't matter if I fail. I know I'm not a failure because I am trying something new, and that's more than a majority of people ever do in their life. They usually and for so long too, I remember in grade school and in high school, it was just drilled into our heads, like, you need a niche. You need this niche. I'm like, okay, this is just not me. Like, so I tried to mold myself into that, which I was not. And now it's like I am truly experimenting with things that fascinate me and trying to create in different ways that are very much a parallel to how I am living my life, which is that experimentation of the unknown. Yes. And it so far has been very rewarding. A lot of struggle, but I am learning more than I feel I ever have.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ah, man. Yeah. It's there's sometimes I feel like I don't need to contribute to it, but I feel so compelled to, because the concept of failure in life is the thing that you learn from. That's adversity. I've always seen, and I don't want to say always, right? Because I had to get to a point where I had to recognize that too. Failing doesn't make you a failure. How you approach and how you learn from your failure is what determines your success.
Right.
Doesn't mean you're a failure if you drop the ball or miss the shot, or it just means that
oh my God,
you needed work and there's work to be done. There's an opportunity for growth. Why is it so hard for us to see that? Is it a societal thing, or is it just we're not cultivating enough environment for us to be thriving on and supporting? Yeah.
I like your second. Yeah. I feel, for me personally, that was a big part, was from where I came from and the places that I put myself in, the spaces that I put myself in. It was as if everything was already created around me and I had to fit in order to succeed.
Right. You had to be a part of and kind of look the mold, be the part.
Instead of creating my own.
Yeah, instead of being your own shape, you got to be a square.
I was thinking of that game.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm like. I don't want to be a square though. None of these shapes fit me. Why can I be something different?
Yeah.
I feel that. That's so real. In many ways, artwork can be a storytelling.
Yes.
What are some of these stories you seek to tell through your art?
Oh. About to okay. This is something that I have touched on personally, especially in my undergrad, that I was heavily trying to present, was all my stories, all of my experiences, the suicide, the homelessness, the sexual abuse, the addictions, like all the things that I could connect to other people with and through. But I feel that was a big downfall, was because I was so focused on how do I present these stories, when really, how it's changed. If I just connect to that energy and just create from that space, it's going to be perceived however each individual perceives it, through their own conditioned lens, so it does not matter if I am so hyper focused on telling a specific story, because someone else is going to see it and they're going to have their own story behind it.
Yes, they will.
So what matters, what I have learned, is that energy that you put into it, the feelings that you put into it. It's not necessarily the story that you are trying to tell, because you're just connecting to that base feeling, you know?
The story, the words, not nearly as important as the essence of what you're trying to convey.
Yeah.
And we are feeling beings that think, not thinking beings that feel. and yeah, right? And that's
our heads get in the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, but I think as an artist, it's...
Sorry.
No, that's
I don't know why that just came up.
John Cena's, that's
you see me, I'm invisible.
Right. But it's such a truth. And I think that's the being able to play with it, being willing to share it without concern of how it's going to be perceived, because at the end of the day, it's not your responsibility. You as the artist,
Yes.
you're responsible for conveying the best as you can.
Yes.
If nothing else, for you.
Yes,
And
exactly. That's it.
Yeah.
For you.
Yeah.
Because when you create for yourself,
Yeah.
if we are all collectively connected, anyone else who is in that collective will resonate with it naturally.
And even maybe not at the moment, but when they're ready.
Yes, when they are ready to receive.
Yes.
Then boom. Exactly. 100%. Love it.
Okay. What does self-love mean to you?
It means to me fulfilling my purpose, not allowing fear to intervene or shame, releasing anything that doesn't serve me, and following the excitement.
Especially with genuine to you, I imagine.
Yes. Oh yeah. And I feel like that's a main key in my everyday life, is the little whispers and nudges and the feelings of fire and excitement, because I'm a very passionate individual, and that I feel is what has guided me for so long, but especially now that I am so in tune with it.
Right.
So I was introduced to divination work at a very young age, and it became more prevalent to me after the military, when I got out, when I was going through an unfortunate abusive situation, and I became more connected to symbols mainly. I feel that's more like the artistic side of me. I've always been so drawn to like sacred geometry and numerology and those types of things. And tarot was kind of always in the background. I actually started off with more oracle cards, and I feel like oracle are like, you know, we were talking about those blocks. Like, that's kind of what that is. It's like, okay, it's easier to be intuitive with.
I see.
And I've always been super intuitive and natural with reading people, mainly due to trauma. However, it has benefited me.
Strange how it does, yes.
And when I went public with it, that was one of the hardest experiences I feel in my life. Was I put myself through these initiation phases almost, where I would take a deck and I would go sit alone at Chevy's and shuffle out in front of people, and people looking at me like I'm wild.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
So I would do all these weird things, seemingly weird things, but I was driven by my heart to do these things, to face my fears, to be seen in ways that I was fearful of being seen.
Right.
Now it's so natural, and it's a part of who I am, and I find so much love in it because it is literally an extension of me. It is like my heart flowing through my hands and giving me visuals. And I am a visual learner. I have learned at a very young age. You know, when they tell you in school, like, make sure you know what kind of learner you are.
Yeah, they do.
And they give you that test.
Yeah.
So I knew I was a visual learner.
Yeah.
And so I naturally had such a draw and a connection to tarot itself.
Yeah.
And that it just progressed. And the more confirmation I received from other individuals when I first started practicing giving readings to other people, because that also took a long time too, because it was so private for so long. Bless you.
What?
And
Oh, there's one.
yeah, Knight of Pentacles. And you sneezed one time, and one is a new beginning. It's about taking authority, ownership of something. The Knight of Pentacles is usually a message, and a message of abundance. And Pentacles is more, it's like monetary, but I always see it as not necessarily money, because we can receive in so many ways.
Right.
you
Monetary
know?
reception is not just, there
Yes.
are. Mhm.
Yeah, so this tells me that the energy that you are putting into what we are doing now, not just with me, but like this endeavor that you are embracing, like it's going to be fulfilling in its own abundant way, whatever that looks like, whether it's you receiving new confirmation or messages or whatever it is.
New opportunities from folks I get to sit with and have conversations.
Yeah.
It is always
and
good.
then it just flows into, it branches like
Yeah.
a tree.
I see.
Yeah.
No, and that's, I think that's the scrutiny that unfortunately I'm supposed to split this, right?
Oh, if you want to.
I figure if we're going to go down the journey, I've always found that it's strange the receptivity of these energies that people think, right? Like, why is it that it's so difficult for us to be on the idea that frequency and vibration are the foundation of our existence? When everything that we see, everything that we've experienced expresses resonance. We wouldn't have sound if it wasn't the case. We wouldn't have energy. We wouldn't have foundations. We wouldn't have solid objects. Even though they're solid, they still work off the same principles. And it always makes me curious as to some of those conflicts and struggles. And the apprehension people have to some of these things, when it's really, it is an opportunity to be in a moment where perhaps the vibes and the vibrations at that moment are being presented to you.
Yes.
In a way. And it's, do you think that there's a misrepresentation? Do you think that people see you as the person who is, you're the conduit, so you're the one,
I'm the messenger,
versus
literally.
like, yes,
or the devil, as people would see me. But I have learned that their perception is not my reality.
Yeah.
So they can choose to define me however they please, and I'm not taking it personally.
Yeah.
That's the book, The Four Laws. Oh my gosh, Don Miguel Ruiz, The
Okay.
Four Agreements. The Four Agreements.
Gotcha.
Yeah, one of them is don't take things personally. So that has been one of the biggest learning curves for me. But yes, with tarot, it has been something that has been very challenging in the beginning.
Yeah.
That is not so much anymore. But in the beginning, I was here, for example, sitting at one of those tables back when it was, set up differently.
Yeah.
And there was a long line of people, and I was with another gal and teaching her because she wanted to learn. And that's when I started the groups, the card groups.
Yeah.
And it was small at the time. And we were going over cards, and this lady standing in line, she goes over and she whispers, like, she is not God, don't listen to her. Like, you deserve better. And then she just stood in line, and then the girl turns to me and she's like, you know what she just said? And I was like, and I looked at this lady and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
Woo!
Yep.
Let it go.
Thanks for pulling all that energy onto me.
Yeah,
Dumping all of that. It's like,
you know.
that wasn't even.
But that was a big learning experience for me, and I faced it so many times, different places, different ways. Some people act really aggressive. However, though, I feel our soul yearns for those lessons. We ask for those things, right? We are challenging ourselves, like, can we really handle this? Whatever it is we are trying to do.
Right.
You know, so
especially when people are going to come at you directly and like, no, you're not. Yeah.
Yeah, you need to be able to protect yourself emotionally, energetically, physically. You know, so it all plays in this. I feel like a ball, like in this bigger perspective. And
well, you dive into sacred geometry, and it's funny how sacred geometry is spheres over spheres over spheres.
Yes.
So it is like, I mean, yeah,
the tree
it
of
is.
life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So
it's all, yeah.
There is that thing that I feel that we don't take into consideration, that we lose sight of. That, you know, instead of accepting that there are other bubbles that overlap mine, I think that my bubble is the only bubble that, and this is it. And I will fight for this bubble without the regard of other people's bubbles. That might be the thing that has saved them from the conflicts that they've been going through, and not recognizing how these fold into each other very well. If only we would allow them to just sit.
Right. And accept people for who they are and not try to place them into boxes that we perceive them to be in.
Right, because our perception isn't their reality.
Exactly. Yeah. So, speaking of,
yes,
do your little 2 cards. So this one was when you split, and it's the 4 of Pentacles here.
I was wondering because that was immediately at the top.
Yeah, and this is this feeling of not being enough, not having enough, maybe being a little greedy or stingy with your money. It's a lack mentality when it comes to money, right? And this is like something that's conditioned in us at a very young age.
Yeah.
How we grew up. Like for me, I struggled with this for a long time because when you grow up in poverty, it's you.
Food,
I don't want to. Yeah. I don't.
Food scarcity, money scarcity, feeling like thinking things that are not. There's nothing. It's going to run out at some point. Yeah.
But it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, and that is something that I had to really work on because I did not want to pass this on to my child. And I notice in so many little ways, like at the grocery store, he'll be like, "How much is that?" And I'm like, "Bro, why? Like, no. We are abundant. If we want this, we are getting this." You know, so it's like I recognize through him and his words and actions that I was coming from this lack mentality state and I needed to change. I needed to make a change. And it was in ways that I did not expect, you know, and it helped me see more clearly.
Yeah.
This 8 of Swords in reverse. So the 8 of Swords is about withdrawing from something, right? Like taking a step back, maybe feeling like this victim mentality, feeling attacked, but really, since it's in reverse, I feel that the blockage is being released. Like it's taking ownership of, and it's recognizing those flaws within to be able to, like the infinity sign, go through, recycle, reuse, like, you know, like you're going through this phase of like finding self and learning new ways to cope with these old issues. So that's what this is.
And you know, weirdly enough, that's recent experiences, recent upwellings, things that have come into my sphere of influences of late have actually, that would be very accurate. Enough. So that's, no.
I love hearing how it resonates.
Yeah,
so.
no, because that's, again, like to know that that's what that first one was, and then to hear that the second one is that effort of coming out of the thing. That is what it's felt like. You know, I've been finding myself in new positions that I would have otherwise not. I had one of my best friend reach out to me. He's like, "Dude, I never thought I'd see you in an office position." And I'm like, you know, weirdly enough, like, I, again, outdoors my entire life, never would have thought I'd find myself in this type of environment I'm in now.
Yeah.
But it has been not just challenging, but fulfilling in the opportunity of, it's one thing when people provide you with what they believe you're capable of. It's another thing when you are rising to the occasion and the people that you work with are like, man, I love the things that you're doing, I see, and they're giving you the confirmation that completely in disregard towards what other people had given you, which was not growth, which was destructive perspective, which was the things that were meant to cut you down and keep you in that block, in that sphere that you were in.
I feel you are hitting on something super important too.
Please.
When it comes to external validation,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
It's important to discern, to use our discernment between accepting external validation and recognizing that, yes, it can be confirmation, but we should not put all our eggs in one basket, right? We need to cultivate that within of our own confirmation of self, but those around us do reflect. However, we need to be able to step aside and be like, okay, what am I seeing here? Why do I believe this? And that goes too for all the negative stuff that we encounter, right? So being able to kind of sift through that, imagining like gold. We're finding gold here, but it's all truly
it's the gold of ourselves.
Yeah.
Our worth, if you put a worth behind it, it is finding the inner gems that make us who we are. Mm-hmm. And if there's not enough effort in sifting through, if there's not enough effort in the process of self-discovery, we are more susceptible and influenced by external forces and outside forces that then stop us from finding that receptivity that allows us to be and connect in that way. Mm-hmm. Because how would we know? I can't meet somebody where I am if I'm not in a place where I know myself well enough. Mm-hmm. Which is hard, but
I feel that comes back to too with me recognizing with tarot how accurate I was becoming was because of the external validation I was receiving. Otherwise, I would not have known. So it's kind of this give and take of being able to recognize, what truly resonates and what's truth, but also what is connecting.
Haley, thank you again for a lot of this depth. When it comes to talking about these practices, when it comes to talking about energy, spirituality, this stuff, it always seems to come with stigma. And we dove into some of it. What are some of the apprehensions you think that could be alleviated with enough insight from people who may be interested in diving in? What are some things you'd recommend for people seeking some of these practices in their own right, in their own process in self-development and growth?
So, speaking of stigmas, one of the biggest ones that I have recognized in my most recent work, which I have been attempting to alleviate some of that, is the keyword intuition. It seems that intuition is such a, it just has this negative connotation to it. And people think it's like woo-woo or, it's really listening to ourselves. To me, that's all it entails. Is you hear people talking about the dreams they've had, the whispers or the thoughts that they have, or we could get so into depth too that our thoughts aren't our own thoughts, or our feelings aren't always our own feelings, and it's just like a whole in-depth conversation. However, for someone who is interested in stepping into a space of trusting themselves, I feel it's important to find solitude. And to me, that is the first step, is to separate self from anything and everything that is impacting your decisions in whatever way that is. Because then you are able to have clarity and make decisions coming from your heart, not from someone else's perception or thoughts or opinions. You know, it's a completely different world of how we interact with others and ourselves once we are able to establish that separation. And then when we are able to sit in that lonely space, the right people just appear. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, people just enter your life and you're like, whoa, I never knew people like you existed. And it's a magical feeling. And when you start recognizing that you're seeing that magic because it's within you, and then you start attracting more of those types of people, and then you start slowly, that self-worth, you start separating yourself from those that aren't in alignment, and then you start finding things that are in alignment to you. Maybe you like crystals, maybe you like traveling, maybe you like cards, whatever it is. Even for people that are religious, there are so many people who still dabble in, you know, astrology and tarot, and they are Christians, full blown. And it's all about that universal connection, the collective connection of we are one. We don't have to lead with hate or spite or this separation. We can come from a place of compassion and love and know that they are living their own lives, and to not be fearful of stepping into maybe taking a class that you've never heard of. You know, like, there's so many opportunities around us that we might not be aware of in the moment, but when you start opening up to new possibilities and new perspectives, things just flow in naturally. You end up meeting people who maybe introduce you to something else you never knew existed.
Right.
So it's, I feel, a process of doing the internal work of letting go of old conditioning and being like, okay, I am open to receiving whatever it is my soul needs to receive, and whatever that looks like.
And if I am receptive enough to it in myself, I can call that intuition because I am acting out in my most authentic self.
Yes.
That's real. That's real. All right. What are some ways your practice helps others tap into their own intuition and learn how to trust their inner voice?
This goes back to the cards group, the Cards and Connections.
Yes.
Which has grown tremendously, and to the point though where I've had to start setting some boundaries. Because it's just gotten to like a plethora of people, and I've had to step back and be like, okay, this is kind of a little more structured than I originally intended it to be. However, the practice is coming together. It's like a bunch of lost people trying to find their way, really. That's within self. And seeing that within self through other people, like we were talking about earlier, that external validation, but confirmation, and being able to discern. So the practice is using cards as visuals, but then also other people like commenting, I see it this way, I recognize this, and using what's called the life method, and that is all of our senses in the present moment. So like that bird right there, one bird flying overhead, that guy right there on a little scooter, right? And it's blue. Blue is communication, right? Feeling disabled, feeling like maybe there's something that you are struggling to communicate that is preventing you from flying to a new beginning, maybe with something that has to do with passion because it's in the sky, right? So looking up towards the sky. So that's the life method, is in the present moment you are using your senses. And that is what I am deeply trying to instill in others to incorporate into their daily life through this group in those ways. Is that...
Yes. So there are a lot of people who say don't look at the signs, or signs don't really give you. But in the sense,
not everything is a sign.
Yeah, not everything is a sign.
If you're delusional, everything is a sign. Okay?
No, but even if it taken further, where if I was just to reflect upon myself, there are always signs that I can utilize to help give me an understanding as to my shortcomings, the things I'm struggling with, if I'm receptive.
Yes.
But in being receptive to it, taking the effort to work on those things makes me a better person to interact with other people, who then encourage other people to do the same practice, which encourages them to be better people, which then is a chain reaction of just growth and self-worth and self-development that, I imagine is the effort in most artistry, most of what you do, most of what any of us who are out here really trying to connect and deepen connection.
Yeah. Listening to our hearts.
Yeah.
That's what I feel it is.
Yeah.
Down to the core.
Yeah.
And
And anything could be a representation of that if we're listening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Literally.
No, guys, I hear it. I feel it. Man. So, philosophically, what does it mean to live unapologetically true to yourself, and what obstacles have you had to face in that effort to do so? Dove in a little bit, but I feel like this deserves its own.
Repeat that.
What does it mean to live unapologetically true to yourself? And what obstacles have you had to face in the efforts to achieve it?
Really, truly following through with my intuition. That gut feeling I get, the things that I hear that for so long I, diagnosed schizophrenic and bipolar and whatever else through the military, like because I heard things and because I saw things, but really those things guided me. They kept me alive in so many situations. It was really listening to myself and not allowing fear of judgment, of rejection, failure to prevent me from being my authentic self. And there's just been an accumulation of so many lessons and challenges from external factors, people, situations, where I have simply learned in more recent time to just trust, to not give my power and my energy to worrying, and to knowing that this is happening for me, not to me. It's allowing me to maintain this sense of self and knowing that I am protected in whatever I do. If I put out the thought that this will work out for me, it has yet to fail me. And it's just been a more recent development of really stepping into that.
Yeah.
And a lot of the trauma was from my childhood. They say that your parents are your first bullies, and that reigns true, and we see people throughout our lives that have the same energy as people that you've met before.
Yeah.
And it's just this repeating cycle.
Yeah.
And those experiences, I feel, have what shaped me and now have allowed me to just see for what they are or who they are and just be like, that has nothing to do with me. And to be able to step into that space has been life-changing and powerful. So that, I hope that answers.
Oh my God.
That.
Yes. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh. Haley, thank you for taking this time to sit and dive in and be vulnerable and just spill out your authenticity. It is not easy. I think it is amazing to see who you have become, to be able to speak with you now and have these awesome nodes of connection. I know we've had these connections before, but it's be able to articulate them to the degree that, it's just honored in all of that. So thank you.
Aww,
thank you.
I appreciate you.
Very, very welcome. Folks, we are, as always, here in the efforts to deepen the human connection one meal at a time and one conversation at a time. Thank you all for being with us. This has been an awesome opportunity, and as always, one meal, one conversation, the efforts to deepen this human connection, we will make all efforts at all times to do so. You can only do it by holding space and creating the opportunity. So I hope you guys learn how to do that, and the difficulty that comes with it, and accepting that it's going to be hard to sit and be vulnerable with people and share these spaces. But the more we do it, the deeper we can connect, the better we can be, and I think the less scrutiny we convey, because we're open and become receptive, and then it's here, it's in our heart. So thank you guys. Thank you guys. Till next time. That's a wrap.
Yesterday my mind was still